volunteer we have is a junior in high school. He's been volunteering with us since he was a freshman. And he comes about every other month and he plays piano and sings with kids. So he does these interactive programs and then he takes requests. If you want him to play the score from Frozen, he can do that. And he does it with a jazz melody on our piano and kids will sing or he will come in and help kids play the piano and riff with him. And ever since he got here, we were like, okay, we've been tracking his high school career, and now he's at the end of his junior year, which is very terrifying because it means eventually he's going to go to college and he's not going to be volunteering, several times a year anymore. But that's another way where he's brought his specific talent and his love for kids and teaching them music and just this beautiful empathetic heart. And he's bringing beauty and relaxation and magic and singing to Family House, all in the same hour. So as I started, I think there are just so many ways that people find themselves at Family House. I mean, another key volunteer profile is someone who's retired and just has more time and just says, I was working in a hospital. We have a fair number of retired doctors and nurses who come in and volunteer, which is really wonderful. But just people who have more time. And they say, this is the time in my life for serving. I want to make this part of my month or week. And I can see how much I'm needed when I'm there for an hour. And it's true, they are needed. And the truth is that people were built for community. And in a situation like this, we need it, more than any other time for these families. And so it is just so special when people come to Family House and they make Family House part of their week or even their volunteer home. The most magical things happen when people are showing up and in relationship with each other, and I can't think of a better place to give back than Family House. I'm a little biased.
No, it's like our kids, our girls all went through Catholic school, so they all had to do service hours in order to graduate, and they all did different types of things that they would volunteer. Now we stay in connection with their school and let them know that if they ever need, children need service hours, they can reach out to us to volunteer for us in that way. But I think the best part of this entire thing is the first word in the house, and that's family. Because a lot of these organizations, and this is nothing against anybody, when you hear it up front, it focuses on the child, which we should be focusing on the child that is battling this disease, whatever they're going through. But cancer in itself is a family diagnosis, and everybody is affected in some way. Siblings often get left behind, and not in a bad way, that just because there's so much focus in one direction, that siblings don't get the attention that maybe they deserve. I feel regret even to this day that I missed out on things with our two older daughters because I wasn't able to be there. And having a place where everybody is there and everybody gets that feeling of coming together, and everybody gets that feeling of I'm included and I'm part of this, and there's activities, and I want to have cookies with conversations now. I want to
do it every Tuesday night. It's very therapeutic.
Listen, I'm down for it. I've been known to eat some cookies, so I'm okay with that. It's something that you can provide, something that honestly is so simple, but it provides so much and to everybody, not just the one. And I know that, us as parents, we often will let ourselves go in a sense, not take care of ourselves physically or mentally and emotionally because we're so focused on our kids. We're wired like that as parents. We're wired to just you get everything, we get nothing, because we want, and we're also our kids are supposed to have better than what we had as a kid. We're supposed to keep moving up. And so to give them that place, the family house, means that everybody's included, everybody's welcome, everybody's able to be a part of what's going on. And family is by far the best medicine that you can have when you're going through all of this. There's no amount of chemo, there's no amount of stem cells, there's no amount of treatments that are going to make you as good as what family interaction will. And we noticed it firsthand. We saw it firsthand what it can do, and it's incredible to see it in a place like this. I wish it was, 1,000 families. I wish it was just a village, and maybe one day. But at the same time, if it's anything like the way that we think with our nonprofit, we hope to go out of business one day because we're not needed, and so we're kind of in that teeter-totter. We right now, when we're needed, yes, we want to be able to provide as much as humanly possible, but we hope one day that we're not, and we can figure this part out. But I'm glad that the families have an outlet like this, a place like this, that can provide whatever normal is to you. They can provide it in a way that takes a lot of that burden and allows us as parents to reset, recharge, and take care of ourselves.
That's a wonderful, wonderful reflection. One thing that happens at Family House with, some regularity, and it's such a privilege to even be talking about this, but our Family House is set right in between our amazing Valkyries, warriors on one end, and our giants on the other. And then the 49ers are part of our community also, and all of the events that happen at the Chase Center or in San Francisco, like this summer, the World Cup coming up, we get a lot of donated tickets from donors who've heard about us, or they've been donating for a long time. And it's, so easy to do that now with all of the platforms. And our director of family services is pretty much on like constant alert for these donated tickets. Like, I've got, 4 seats and, the game's in 2 hours. He can find a family who will go. And he somehow manages to do this in a way that, is just the right gift at the right time for families. And what we love about these games, and a dad told us this a couple of years ago, we always know, of course, if a dad has been bedside for a couple of months because his baby received a heart transplant at UCSF, and 4-year-old sibling is kind of bouncing off the walls at this point because she can't even visit the hospital because, she's little and they're concerned about infection risk. And so you've got a 4-year-old who needs stuff to do, a mom who's really tired, a dad who's really tired, and a baby who is making progress but needs lots of care. Suddenly, these baseball tickets come in. Well, who wouldn't love that? Except the gift at Family House means even more than you would think, because the stadium is only 3 blocks from Family House and only 5 blocks from the hospital. And so when you go to a game, you can be on alert for what might actually be happening, at the hospital and a need. This dad said, if something's going on, I can enjoy a game. And he wasn't like at the ballpark every day, but he went to a couple of games and he said, I realized that if I was really needed, I could run. I said 20 minutes. He says 10. I can run over to the hospital in 10 minutes. I can be there. And he's a good runner. But it helps him get that sense of relaxation and being in another place and just being able to relax. And he would go with his little daughter, and she became a total Giants fan that summer. It was just a wonderful thing. And I'm so grateful that donors know that, and that the teams, donate tickets and experiences and know how important their presence is for breaking up the day or sharing that inspiration of sports with our families. I don't know if you've heard of, here's an organization that's fantastic. Have you heard of Super Baskets of Hope or Baskets of Hope?
I have not.
Well, they visited something like 30 cities this year, running up to the Super Bowl, and with players in different markets. There's got to be something that connects to one of the teams close to you, a certain team that's very, very important in Wisconsin, named the Packers. But they come around with players and gifts for families in Super Bowl years, and they visited Family House this year. And this wonderful media professional and former Coach Tony Dungy, visited Family House with 10 or 15 other players, and we took pictures and heard inspirational stories from former NFL players, and there were signed footballs. I mean, it was so much fun. There were so many hugs. There was so much storytelling, and the families just felt so seen and heard. And Baskets of Hope, that's their purpose, is to go around to hospitals and hospital adjacent places and communities and just show up for families and tell them how much they matter. And our families felt like they really, really mattered a few days before the Super Bowl last year when we got this visit.
I think when you have, people that are in the spotlight every single day and you wonder, do they even notice any of us out there in the real world? And so many of these players, so many of these people that are on sports teams or even celebrities for that matter, some of them can realize that just, taking time out of your day to visit people that just need a little bit of joy and they can make that effort. That's huge. That's huge. I think that's incredible. I know that the Packers do go very close to the Green Bay hospital where our daughter was treated. And they will visit throughout the year and things like that and bring toys. They go around Christmas time as well. And, taking that moment out of what I'm guessing is a busy day. You certainly don't live normal lives anymore, and you've got a lot going on, but you can make that effort. It can mean all the difference. Just as an update as well, and Shelby, like I mentioned, she's in here right now, and she said that when Strider's sister's name is Mary, and she is his biggest protector, by the way. She will take down anybody to protect him. She said that every
people.
I know it. And she said that any time that they were at Family House, she was treated with the utmost unbelievable care. And just, like she was basically like a rock star, and always made sure that again, she wasn't left out of the equation. And not to say that other organizations leave them out. It's just in general, overall, I think siblings kind of get left behind because the focus is on the patient, which it should be on the patient, but it's a family, and togetherness is so huge. So to be there and be heard and be felt as if, you were just treated like a princess, when your brother is going through something huge. And like I said, you are his biggest supporter and his biggest protector. That's an incredible statement to make. So I wanted to pass that along as well.
Strider has an amazing team, doesn't he? I mean,
yeah.
His parents and Mary, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you were able to find what you needed in your life and in places like Family House to support Strider. And it's so good to hear Mary's good feelings. I think it's really hard for siblings. They do get, it's no fault of anyone's or the family's. It's just hard to be a sibling in a system where there's a major illness of another sibling, and it really demands a lot of these kids, far more than what any kid is ready for at whatever age it's happening. And I just have so much gratitude for siblings like Mary who can turn something so hard into something that deepens their relationship with their family, and where they're still making their progress in their own lives, and they're turning hardship into something that makes them maybe even stronger and more capable of dealing with the world. It's just wonderful to think about, Curtis.
No, it's unbelievable to continue to meet these families and to meet and hear their stories and watch really how the families come together. But siblings are put in such a different position because it's not really authoritative where they're helping make decisions when it comes to treatment or care. It's about support. It's about being their best friend. It's about being, no matter what, it's never going to change anything. I know our oldest daughter, when she went to high school, it was a new high school, and she didn't want to tell anybody that her sister had passed away from cancer because she didn't want to be that person. She didn't want to be known for that. And I get it, and I completely support her decision and what she did, but she carries our daughter JC with her every single day. She always carries her memory with her. Our 17, soon to be 18-year-old is going off to college in the fall, and she's going to be a child life specialist because of the experiences that she had with specific child life specialists and with her sister, and she wants to be able to give back. What you see them do, when we were in the hospital for 52 days for her stem cell transplant, all our daughter wanted to do was be on the phone with her sisters. That's it. And there were times where she would call them when they were in school and they couldn't answer the phone, but they would put the phone on and just sit there. Silence, didn't say anything. But that was that connection that they had as sisters that, siblings, you can never, that's the one friend that's never going to leave your side. People are going to come and go out of your life. Your brothers and sisters are going to be there forever. And that's how they carry it through. And to see them stand up for them, protect them, care for them, but also give them the business when they need to and treat them like siblings are supposed to, no matter what. That's that sense of normalcy. That's a sense of normalcy that comes from, family house. That's a sense of normalcy that comes in a family and in a diagnosis treatment that you're looking for to kind of keep you somewhat sane in all of this.
Curtis, as you're telling this story of understanding of other families, all of that empathy is coming through. But I also just want to reflect it back to you and your parenting. You've done such a wonderful job with your kids. I know they all just love you so much, and to hear the way you've invested in their education and their sense of commitment to their own family. I mean, we all know families, they can meander and go down their own paths. Everyone has their own path in a family, but the parenting that you've provided has obviously been extraordinary to have the kind of kids that you do in any situation. But given the situation that you all navigated together, I'm just so impressed with who you're all still becoming. It's really an incredible inspiration.
I really do appreciate it so much. I know that my wife and I tried really hard to give our kids the foundation of what they needed in life and let them make their decisions and choices. But, we're part of a very small group of families, 20% that managed to stay together through all of this. And it's been ups and downs, and I don't have the answer as to why you come out on the other side, not unscathed, but, definitely, broken, but you have a perspective on life that not a lot of people do. I don't know what the answer is to how we survived it, but I will say, I say it all the time, my kids are my greatest achievement in life. I will never achieve anything greater than them, and they continue to impress me every single day. And I'm a girl dad through and through. It is the greatest job on this planet. There is nothing that is ever going to be better than this. It's just something that I cherish every day, and I love watching them grow. I love watching them succeed. It is definitely bittersweet not having their sister here with us to grow with them, but I know she's with us every day, and I know she's with them every day. And I know, unfortunately, she waits on the other side to welcome other families that go through this, but it's all part of just trying to be the best that we can be in a situation that we're not built for.
Well, you are sharing some themes with me right now that I heard on two other podcasts that I listened to by you, as I said, last night getting ready for today. And you kind of talk about the miracle of getting through this as a family. And I also heard you talk a lot about how you intentionally work to make sure that you have wonderful memories of JC, and that's part of your ongoing healing process. And I'm just so happy to hear that even this morning that you're continuing that healing journey and that journey of remembering and connecting for so many families and modeling it for your audience. I understand more today than ever about how continuing to show up in a community with your stories and your learnings and your encouragement helps people through the toughest times. And I'm so excited to be a follower of your podcast now. I'm excited to continue learning from you.
Thank you. It means a lot. I know that going through this every single day, and with our nonprofit, with this podcast, with everything that we do, I question literally every day. I question, is it enough? Are we doing enough? And it's, our daughter's legacy is of utmost importance to me, to ensure that it is secured, ensure that the world knows her name, to ensure that we can touch as many families as possible in a positive way. I don't know when enough is going to be enough, to be honest with you. I never know the answer to that question. I've been asked by my wife several times, if you achieve this, will it be enough? If you achieve this, will it be enough? I don't know the answer to that. I think that this is something, I think we're all put on this earth for a reason. We don't know what that reason is. I think I was put here to be an advocate. Didn't think it was going to be for this, but here I am. And I have a voice that I want to be able to share with people. And I have a mission, and we have a family, and we have a story. And I will argue any day that lived experience can be far greater than any education because it's real and it's not a classroom. It's not something that you can learn. It's something that you're a part of and you feel every day. And I think that we can share that with people. And like I said in the beginning, it allows people to relate. It allows people to be a part of it. It allows people to realize that they're not alone and that we're in this together as fighting families. And I read this quote earlier today, and it spoke to me for a reason. And it says, Katherine loves big ideas, great teams, and believes building communities is essential to the human spirit. And I wrote, this is me because I'm incapable of thinking small. I'm incapable of staying inside the box because believing that you can achieve so much by surrounding yourself with the right people means that you're going to break free of whatever goals you have and you're going to exceed them. So I feel like we're on the same page here. I feel like we're fighting for the same thing. I feel like we're put here for the same reason, and it's to help people. It's to be good people and to allow others to really kind of follow what we're doing and build something great almost on their own as well.
It's a wonderful reflection. I absolutely do believe that we're all built for community and that I feel so lucky to be with other builders of community so that we can, transcend the hard things in our lives and make use of everything that the world hands to us and make the world a better place by really being together. And it's the privilege of a lifetime to be at a place like Family House and to be supporting the families that I do and that we do.
Well, I'm glad that you're the one that is doing it. I feel like they've got the right person there that is, you're included in everything. You're part of it. You're wanting to make it great, right? And you're wanting to make sure that families feel normal, that they feel included, that they feel like the world may not crash down today. We might get through it and might have a positive on the other side of it. I wanted to ask you had mentioned one family that had been there for essentially the entire time of Family House being open.
Yeah.
But are there any other families throughout your time being there that have just stuck out to you? Just every day that's part of it.
Yeah, Curtis, one of the great things about Family House is our working there is that the administrative offices are right there. The family service office is obviously, that's essential to how we operate well. But all of us at Family House, whether you are our wonderful CFO or our head of HR, we're all in the house and the stories come all the time. There was someone I had a really nice conversation with on Friday night. It's Monday morning right now, and it's just stuck with me through the whole weekend. And there are other families who, there are just so many stories. And I think the story, I'll tell a couple. So on Friday night, I said hi to a dad who I've seen several times, and suddenly there was a moment to say more than hello. And he told me the story of his 6-year-old son who had an immunodeficiency, and they didn't discover it during the pandemic. He was born during the pandemic, and everyone was so isolated that it didn't really present for a few years. And so a couple of years ago, it became very obvious that he needed some serious medical care because he was just catching everything. And they finally determined what it was. And they're from a city that's like 4 hours from San Francisco in the foothills of San Francisco. They're being treated from far away. They've been staying with us for months. And his son is on day 70, or Friday, he was on day 70 post bone marrow transplant. And he's doing really well, and they're trying to get to day 100 because day 100 is significant. It means that if his numbers are good, that he'll be healthy enough to go back home and be in the world, resilient, to all of the potential things, infections and other things that he could catch, and he probably won't catch them anymore. And so they're really excited about being able to go home. And this dad told me about not only, how wonderfully comfortable and grateful they are at Family House and all of the things that their 1-year-old son has been able to experience just by being close to the family, and how they've been able to handle work and home and, the financial realities. But he also told me that because we're in San Francisco and because of his faith, they sought out a spiritual home for themselves, and they found one in a monastery in a neighborhood nearby. And they have a code to go into this monastery and be able to go and use the chapel and to be able to connect with the religious people there. I can't remember who runs it, if it was nuns or brothers, but how included they feel at this place. And it's like an extension, Family House is an extension of their home, and this monastery is now an extension of their home. And I just was so touched by how hard this family is working to stay together, to invest in the care, every bit of the care that's necessary for their families, and stay spiritually healthy at the same time. I've just been thinking about it for days. Another story that I think is so wonderful at Family House right now is the story of a little girl who is from a similar area, about 3 hours away. And her mom and dad, with their doctors, discovered when she was very little, she's still little, that she had renal disease, and she needed a kidney transplant. And it turned out that her mom was the right kidney donor. And this little girl has basically grown up by going back and forth to UCSF and Family House. And she also has a little brother, and her little brother learned how to walk at Family House. And they're both very talkative. They have relationships with everyone in the staff because their faces are so bright and full of joy and curiosity that you absolutely have to have a relationship with them. Like, she will compel you to have a relationship with her, even if you're the CEO of Family House, or you're one of our housekeepers, or you're a head of family services, and all of the other families and kids. Like, they're friends with everybody. With her condition, she, is not able just to run around. And so she goes around often in a wagon that her mom pulls, and her brother sits, in the front, and she'll sit in the back. And they basically just go all over Family House, the kitchens, story time, pizza parties, just coming up to the front to say hello whenever they're at Family House. And this wagon is their kind of magic carpet through life as little people who are exploring the world. And this family is just amazing with what they're going through. We're still seeing a lot of this little girl. She's coming for checkups at UCSF with some frequency, and what she's going through is incredibly hard, and yet she's always lit up with joy, and she lights up everyone she runs into with joy. And it's such a privilege to be part of this story, and we know that she's on the way, and her little brother is on the way to just a very full, rich life of learning and community. So many stories.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I can imagine that there's just endless. But it's incredible, the ones that stick with you the most, and the ones that you can remember so vividly with these families and these kids that are coming, and about them. Sometimes we know more about them than our own family. We start to figure it out. We know birthdays and anniversaries and all this type of stuff, and they're spending those days with you, and you're making it about them. You're making it about them as a person and not as a diagnosis, which I think is so important. I wanted to ask you one other thing, and that's, as you're meeting these families, you're seeing them at different parts of their journeys, different parts of life, things of that nature. How do yourself or the volunteers, the workers there, how do you separate the emotion do you allow yourself to be emotional with them? If they're emotional, do you keep that separate? I know for us, our daughter was diagnosed in 2020. It was COVID. I didn't see anybody below their nose for a year. I didn't know what their face looked like, but I do know that they separated that emotion very well. And it wasn't until there was the unfortunate speech that we had of there's nothing more that we can do that I finally saw them break down and almost seem human to me. And I don't know how to compartmentalize that stuff, but how do you separate that emotion, or not, maybe not take it home on a bad day, if there's a bad day or if there's bad news or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer is we're kind of learning this all over again in some ways. We have you know, many of our staff is on the newer side, younger side. Only one of us is a licensed clinical practitioner, and that's our head of social work, our chief of family care and engagement, who I mentioned earlier. And she's helping our whole staff culture show up for our families emotionally and be and foster our own wellness and well-being at the same time. And our head of people in HR takes that job very seriously too. Wellness and well-being is really important because as a caregiver yourself that you need to put your own oxygen mask on first. Parents are notoriously, as a parent, notoriously terrible about doing that, but we're supposed to do it. And as in a professional organization, I'm probably better at it than I am as a parent. And I have to be, because I need to model that for this wonderful staff of people and all the volunteers that we have. I think the answer is we need to do both, right? We need to be there emotionally for our families and also take excellent emotional care of ourselves. And so we are learning things like the fact that a place like Family House or a place like a hospital and other caregiving places are trauma informed places. And so we have to have an awareness of what that means. It is absolutely feel that emotion and meet many of the emotions that parents have as we're interacting, and siblings and kids as we're interacting with them. And it can be very sad. And we have to know how to go away from those interactions and be ready for the next family that we're serving or the next staff member that we're guiding and working with, so that we're well for them and at our best for them. So it's not easy, but there are things that we're learning as Family House, how to have the right boundaries, how to give and receive feedback with each other respectfully, how to refer to our expectations for our family and staff culture, so that in tough times or good times, that we're all, upholding the best of our culture, so that we're the best for, everyone who we're interacting with. It's a lot of intentional work. It's not something, it's something that can happen very naturally, but it's something we're working on and something that I'm very proud of, because there is 100% dedication through our board and our volunteers, our staff, our senior leadership of our staff, that's the right approach. And I think it makes us so good for our families. We're also working with social workers and medical practitioners in the hospital. Family House isn't a place of clinical care, and we're working with clinicians and professionals who are absolutely our partners in care, and we just need to be well with them too. But there are times where something really sad happens, and we do connect on that very tender level with our partners at the hospital. And we're all in it together is how it feels. It feels like we're in a really good path to care for families emotionally, and it's really hard. And I encourage, sorry, not families, but our staff to take vacations and do healthy coping practices, and to have the full lives outside of Family House, so that they're finding joy and meaning in all kinds of ways that are meaningful to them. It's a really good question, Curtis, because it's something that takes a lot of care and it takes consistency, and it's really important. So thank you for the question.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, you mentioned something that that I actually kind of quote quite often, which is the oxygen mask theory. I think that it's so easy to kind of align yourself with the understanding of that if you can't take care of yourself first, you're really no good to anybody else. And that's, and like I said it before, we as parents often will put the mask on someone else first and not ourselves. But that leaves us not able to breathe and not able to help. So you have to find that balance. You have to find that ability to have self-care and ensure that you're okay so you can be the best person for everybody else. So I'm glad that you have more or less a structure, a policy, an idea in place on how to ensure everybody is at their best when they're providing for these families that really need someone at their best. And at the same time, we're all human. And we can all have those days when it's just not right. It's just not the best time. And you know what? We ran into medical staff like that in our journey that were having a bad day and should not have come to work that day. Mm-hmm. And it's nothing against them. They're human beings. We all have those moments. But you have to be able to take care of yourself and set things aside and be in the moment. And so I'm glad that you're able to recognize that, and your volunteers and your staff recognize that, and you provide the best possible experience for these families in their time of need.
Thank you for the question.
So, I think, to be honest with you, I think that we could talk for hours and hours and hours.
Me too. I hope we get to talk again.
But yeah, I think we could go on and on and on, and there's so much about all of this and the details. But is there anything else particularly that you would like to share about Family House that maybe I didn't get into that you'd like people to know?
I think we covered so much, and I think what I would like to close with is to invite people to be a part of Family House. We have an amazing staff that is so helpful to all the people in our space, trying to make life better for the families we're serving. We're doing things that I think we're very proud of in terms of the level of care that we're giving to our families, and how, not only sustaining this wonderful mission, but trying to figure out how to innovate wherever we can and use best practices and the best learning that we can to make life better for our families and our community healthier. And of course, there are all kinds of ways to get involved at Family House, and I would love to have anyone out there become a part of Family House. You can be anywhere in the world and make a difference through being a part of a toy drive, or supporting us financially, sharing stories, following us, all the things that nonprofits thrive with. So just extending that invitation to be a part of it. And we're at familyhouseinc.org and all over social, and just please feel our hospitality, because we have open doors for people who want to participate, so that we can be everything we can to the families we're serving.
Well, I think that is incredible. Like I said, this is an incredible idea. It's an incredible movement, incredible place, incredible opportunity for families in maybe the worst times to be able to have that sense of normalcy. And like I said before, the word family is the biggest part of the entire thing. The fact that you're all together and you're able to complete whatever life throws at you, surrounded by other people that truly understand you, and those that just want to be there for you, can make life almost bearable in very, very hard times. So again, my sincere thank you for what you and your staff, your volunteers all do, for all of the people that donate and take their time out of their day, the sports teams and all of that put their efforts in to ensure that people have a moment to really step away from things, even if for just the length of a baseball game, and just reset. To all of those donors, thank you for what you do. You don't understand, I think, how deep it goes. It's not just what you paid for the ticket, it's what that ticket means to somebody. So thank you to all of you. I thank Shelby, Strider, Mary, and Joyce for being in here with us and sharing your incredible story and your mission, or your experience with Family House. I'm sure you'll see them at some point, because I feel like they just love it and they want to come for the toy closet again, right?
Definitely should come back for the toy closet.
See, there you go. That's your invitation, guys.
Look me up.
But but I appreciate you being here and sharing this with me. It's been an incredible conversation, and I look forward to us being able to have another one again. I think there's so much more we can share, and working together, we're only that much stronger within this community and allowing people to just to have their lives back, essentially. So thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you, Curtis. You are really an inspiration, and I can't wait to tell all kinds of people about what you're doing and this wonderful conversation we've had today. Thank you. And thanks to your audience for being here, whether you're receiving support from it personally or you're able to support the people in your community in a more empathetic, informed way. It's just wonderful that you've listened today. So thanks.
Absolutely. So everybody else, we will see you all next week. Katherine, again, thank you so much.
Take care.